tonight. The mercury has climbed right across Western Canada. At the same time, concerns as fire once again threatens Lytton, BC. Also, the provincial NDP are speaking up for a woman from Nipawin with a rare disease requiring expensive, life-saving medical care.
Cheers, girls.
Plus, a Regina brewery is joining a global movement to raise money and awareness for sexual assault services in our province.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, July 15th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. It is hot right across Western Canada right now, and we begin tonight keeping a close eye on a wildfire threatening the community near Lytton, BC. That is the village that burned to the ground last June in an inferno sparked after 3 straight days of the hottest temperatures ever recorded in Canada. Like that devastating fire, this one is wind-driven. People are being ordered out of their homes. The evacuations cover the Lytton First Nation just across the Fraser River from the village site and dozens of other properties in the area. The fire is still burning out of control on the west side of the river, less than 2 kilometers from Lytton. The BC Wildfire Service says more than 50 firefighters are on scene and more are set to arrive. Here in Saskatchewan, there are special air quality statements because of smoke in the north. Ethan Williams joins me now with a closer look. Ethan, what's going on?
Yeah, and that's right, Sam. There are fires kind of sparking off across the north. You can see them here on our map. Many of them, they're about 12 out of control right now. These are just a few of them at this point, and all of those represent uncontained fires at the moment. There's 59 of them in total, but 12 uncontained, and we are still pretty close to the 5-year average when it comes to the number of fires in the province so far this year. Now, keep in mind, smoke is going to be moving across much of the far north of the province, especially through the weekend, and it could be very thick smoke in some cases, and our fire risk is increasing. Now, in the north, we're actually looking at some rainfall this weekend, and that could lower our risk as we go into tomorrow. But really, in the south and west central and southwestern parts of the province is where our risk will pick up as we get this very hot weather. One fire ban in place, and that is for the RM of Fertile Valley, just kind of to the south of Saskatoon. So if you are in that area, you are not allowed to have any fires or anything like that. And Sam, I'll have more on the fires and all this heat coming up in my full forecast a little bit later.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
The Saskatchewan NDP is joining the family of a young woman with a deadly rare disease, calling on the provincial government to cover her very expensive monthly medical treatment. Laura Sharpaletti has that story.
Morgan Buyaki was supposed to meet with press at an event in Saskatoon on Friday, but she was too sick to make the journey from where she lives in Nipawin. This is typical for Buyaki, as she's mostly bedridden. 18 months ago, Buyaki was diagnosed with an extremely rare vascular disease called EGPA. The illness attacks her white blood cells, causing serious issues with her liver, kidneys, heart, and more. She struggles to breathe and has to always be on oxygen. Buyaki's mother, April McIver, made the trip to Saskatoon without her on Friday. There, McIver spoke alongside NDP health critic Vicky Mowat. Together, they're calling on the provincial government to help save her daughter's life. Buyaki needs a medication called Nucala. Provincial drug coverage funds only 100 milligrams of the 300 milligrams she needs monthly. One injection can cost up to $9,000, and Buyaki's family says this is not affordable. Mowat says the province needs to work quickly to cover all 3 doses Buyaki needs each month.
Morgan's family is facing the prospects that no family should have to face in this province, and that is, having to sell their possessions, having to sell their home, and this is just in the short term.
So far, a GoFundMe for Buyaki has raised $15,000, but the goal is $200,000. McIver says she feels like her government is letting her family down.
I find it very ironic that this is happening in Saskatchewan. In November 17, 1961, the Sask Medical Care Insurance Act was passed, and now decades later I'm standing in the same province and I'm having to beg for medication for my daughter to live.
The CBC asked the Ministry of Health if it would cover Buyaki's entire treatment, but it said it could not comment on an individual situation due to privacy. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
Omicron and its subvariants are infecting people who've already had COVID-19. Now, scientists are looking into the effects of those reinfections, and they're finding that they're more serious for some people than others. Lauren Pelly looks at the science and what it means for your health.
It's the COVID test result no one wants to see, but that Canadians could experience over and over.
Reinfections are not something to be surprised about. They were completely expected.
That's because the virus behind COVID is just the latest addition to a family of coronaviruses that have been infecting humans for centuries. 4
of those other family members cause about 30% of our common colds, and they reinfect us routinely. We've all had multiple bouts of other coronavirus infections, and that's where this virus was always headed.
But will getting reinfected with this virus mean milder symptoms? Erin Wilson first caught COVID in December and again a few days ago.
Everything I'm feeling is quite similar to the first time I had COVID.
Like a cough, chest congestion, and fatigue. Still, Wilson says her second round has been easier.
This one has not knocked me out. The first time I had COVID, I was in bed for 2 days, just slept.
Scientists are hopeful that will be the experience for most healthy adults.
Your first infection with COVID is probably, not invariably, but probably going to be the worst. And then as you get more and more exposed to it, you get better and better protections.
But that might not be the case for people at a higher risk because of their age or other health issues. One early study focusing on U.S. veterans, mostly older men, found reinfections did come with a higher risk of death or hospitalization.
We're going to have to wait for more data. But, it's enough to maybe just make us all a little bit more careful.
There's also research underway in Canada to study the impact of reinfections on lingering long COVID symptoms, all as we face the long-term reality of dealing with this virus over and over. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
A special graduation ceremony was held today at the RCMP Academy in Regina. The grads were part of the Indigenous Pre-Cadet Training Program. Candidates arrived at Depot from across the country to take part in a 3-week program. It's designed to give young First Nations, Inuit and Métis people a first-hand look at a career in policing. The grads also help the RCMP by bringing valuable perspective and understanding of their unique cultures. The Mounties say it will enhance their ability to create better partnerships and relationships with Canada's Indigenous communities. Several First Nations joined the Buffalo Treaty today. Its goal? To return bison back to the prairies. The signing ceremony took place at Wanuskewin Heritage Park in Saskatoon. 8 First Nations and tribal groups originally signed the treaty in 2014 in Montana. More have since joined from across North America. The aim is to allow the bison to roam freely between the United States and Canada.
The elders' dream was we want to bring the buffalo back. Any which way we could see the buffalo. So here at Wanuskewin, hey, we've got buffalo out there in the field. And hey, anywhere we can see buffalo roaming around freely as they used to be, hey, we're moving forward with our, with our goals.
More than 30 communities have already signed the Buffalo Treaty. Today, representatives from the Battlefords Agency Tribal Chiefs and Nicanite First Nation also put their names on the document. A Regina brewery is hoping to raise money and awareness with its latest beer. Rebellion Brewing has launched Brave Noise. The goal? To donate $10,000 of proceeds to Sexual Assault Services Saskatchewan. Here's how it all came together.
Cheers, girls. We at Rebellion decided to support SAS because it reflects the initiative and mission of this project. This is a global movement. It was started in the US a year ago, and basically it was a response to trying to create more inclusive craft brewing, breweries and workplaces to address racism, gender-based violence, sexual harassment in the workspace.
Brave Noise beer is a hazy pale ale and it's 4.5%. Everybody who brews a Brave Noise beer gets the original recipe and you're allowed to tweak it however you'd like. So we used a special yeast called Theo Libre, which releases a lot of tropical citrus aromas and flavors. It's delicious.
This partnership with Rebellion is incredibly important. They were the instigators. They saw the importance of this Brave Noise movement and brought it to Saskatchewan. This is the first time that it's coming to Saskatchewan. So it's a way that we can start to have these conversations in different spaces, with craft beer predominantly being a male-dominated industry, to be able to bring in these important conversations about sexual harassment and sexual violence, and that we all really have a role to play in addressing and taking personal action for addressing sexual harassment in the workplace. And there's something that we can all do to either invest in or just purchase a can of beer and enjoy local craft beer while also helping to address sexual harassment in our communities. We're very excited to be able to translate the proceeds of the Brave Noise beer into a consent campaign, hopefully this fall.
The Saskatchewan Rough Riders are officially on the ground in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. They're there taking part in Touchdown Atlantic for the first time. It's a huge deal for Riders kicker Brett Lawther, who hails from Truro, Nova Scotia. It's not his first Touchdown Atlantic game, though. He made his pro debut when it was played in Moncton. But now he's in his home province and doing his part to sell the CFL to the movers and shakers.
I mean, hopefully it leads to getting a team someday. Representation, I guess. There's a lot of kids that play hockey and a number of other sports out there, and football's growing, but I think it's just one of those things until you the kids here in Sask, they have a team to look up to and a stadium to come to, and until we get something like that, it's tough for the kids to kind of see or know that dream. And even myself growing up, I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be a football player. I didn't even start football until high school.
Yeah, hopefully he shows us the nice areas, the good food. I know he's got a lot of people. He went around the entire locker room asking if he can have our tickets. And I was like, how many tickets do you need? He's like, not enough. And I was like, oh, man.
At last count, Lawther had accumulated well over 100 tickets. The Riders will play the Argos on Saturday. Kickoff is at noon Saskatchewan time. Oh, I have no doubt that spray pads are going to be so busy this weekend. Check out these kids having a blast and beating the heat at the Northwest Leisure Centre spray pad. You may need to get creative to cool off over the next couple days. Coming up after the break, Ethan will have your full weekend forecast. Stay with us. A disease that can kill elm trees has been detected in Regina. City staff are moving quickly to deal with Dutch elm disease, which threatens the more than 50,000 elm trees owned by the city. An elm tree in Victoria Park was destroyed this morning after the city confirmed it was infected. So far, the city's determined there are 6 trees affected in total, but more are expected to test positive. Dutch elm disease is a fungus carried by the elm bark beetle, and it affects a tree's vascular system. It makes it unable to get water while the tree is slowly wilting and dying.
So it is important to get these trees out of the system, so get rid of the disease so it can't spread from tree to tree. What we look for is flagging, dead branches. When I say flagging, I mean green leaves that will turn yellow and wilt and eventually brown and die back.
If you spot any elm tree with those symptoms, you are asked to call Service Regina. The city also asks that people do not bring in firewood from outside Regina to help avoid spreading the disease.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. The exclusive export event is back.
And CBC weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me once again. It is blistering now, but we have not even hit the peak of our heat.
Yeah, that's right, Sam. That comes over the weekend for a lot of locations, but still right now it is very warm. Temperatures hovering around 30 degrees for a lot of south and central locations. You factor in the humidex, and we are getting very close to 40 degrees. In fact, we have hit 40 in Estevan. We were sitting at 40 in Regina and Weyburn, and everywhere else between 35 and 40 degrees right now. Now, heat warnings likely to remain in place through the weekend for a lot of south and central locations, and including the Churchill region as well. And some severe thunderstorm watches and warnings starting to pop up right now. This is one that's in effect for an area just northwest of Strasbourg, and actually we've been following it since this morning. Here it slowly works its way southeastwards. This first got a severe thunderstorm warning around 11 o'clock this morning. It's been a very long-lived, slow-moving cell, now producing up to nickel to ping-pong ball-sized hail, and it is heading towards Strasbourg and Highway 6, so keep in mind as it heads, or Highway 20 rather, as it heads that way. Now, earlier this morning, we did around 11 a.m. as this storm was first severe thunderstorm warned, we did have a report of a tornado, and this shot comes to us from Sherry. This was near Allen, where they got a lot of rain as well with this system. It basically sat right over top of the town, and Environment Canada is investigating those reports right now. Now, there is the risk of some severe weather this evening, specifically along the eastern side of the province, as that dry air from the southwest interacts with all that moisture that we have on the eastern part of the province, and some very large hail is possible, maybe some strong wind gusts, and an isolated tornado cannot be ruled out. We saw how quickly that came up earlier today near Allen, so keep in mind as we go through the evening hours. That system starts to move through roughly between, I think, now and 9 o'clock will be the time when the most threats will be, and then that'll move out tomorrow morning. We take a look at tomorrow afternoon, and the forest fire situation likely going to get a bit of a break in the north thanks to some showers, maybe between 5 and 15 millimeters through the weekend in the north, and then showers and thunderstorms possible, in the south and central region as we head into Sunday. Wind gusts not going to be too bad actually over the next couple of days. That means though we won't really get any relief from the heat. They'll be the gustiest in the southwest as we get through tomorrow afternoon, and then most of us enjoying some pretty light gusts as we head into Sunday. Our next 7 days in Regina, very intense heat through the weekend, and with that chance of sporadic showers and thunderstorms, humidex levels getting very close to 40 degrees, so do be careful as you're heading out. And then a showery next week here, it looks like. Not anything huge in terms of accumulation, I don't think, but the odd chance of a shower here and there through the next week. Saskatoon, I think it'll look a little drier next week, but still humidex levels this weekend quite high. Sunday, I think we do get a bit of a break though with the heat, and dare I say, Sam, that even though these temperatures are cooler, they're closer to normal. Maybe we're enjoying some cooler temperatures, but I don't know, maybe you're a hot weather person.
I like the heat till I get the cool off, and then I appreciate the cool off. What I really want to know is, when do the mosquitoes start dying?
I think we're still a good couple months away from that at this point.
I don't want to talk about snow. I just want to talk about no more mosquitoes.
Yeah, that's right. That comes afterward, right? Maybe.
Oh my God. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
A lot of fun because we're working, so it's you just catch parts of the shows. But the people are great that are here. They're all looking forward to it, and it's fun.
Concession owner Max Morin says he can't pick a favorite year, but he has been coming out to Country Thunder in Craven since the 80s. After a 2-year break, the gates are open to the annual Country Festival with main stage activities kicking off tonight. Coming up a little later in the show, we'll hear from the Washboard Union, who are performing on Sunday. Stay with us. MPs on the House of Commons Industry Committee have voted to investigate the massive Rogers outage last Friday. They'll examine the impact it had on consumers, families, and businesses, and how to prevent it happening in the future. The widespread outage on July 8th affected millions of Canadians across the country. It knocked out mobile and internet service, as well as ATMs and Interac payments, for more than 15 hours. It even prevented calls to 911 in some Canadian cities. The committee will hold at least 2 meetings by the end of the month. People in London are sweating through a scorching July. Heat alerts have been issued for much of England and Wales. It's all part of a heat wave hitting a big swath of Europe. Wildfires in southwestern France are being made worse by the scorching heat and strong winds. Hundreds of people have had to leave their homes there. Tourists enjoying a sunny day in southern Spain saw plumes of smoke billowing from the nearby hills. Spain has set an alert for wildfires across much of the country. Temperatures have dipped a little in Portugal, but they're still topping 40 degrees. "40 degrees continuously is way too hot." Ethan is back with one last look at tonight's weather.
Yeah, and the Humidex will feel close to 40 degrees, I think, in Regina tomorrow, Sam. We're at 23 already by 8 a.m. under some sunny skies. But by the time we get to noon already, Humidex is at 36. It's expected to get to 39. Our actual temperature will be at 32. And Saskatoon, you're not far behind, 22 degrees at 8 a.m. with south winds only gusting to about 17 kilometers an hour at that time. So really not a lot of relief. 30 degrees at the noon hour, Humidex at 35, expected to get to 37. And if you are headed out to Country Thunder this evening at Craven, as Lindsay L takes the stage at 8:30 this evening, it will be a toasty 25 degrees, mix of sun and clouds, still feeling like 33 degrees, Sam. It's going to be a hot evening out at Craven.
Sunscreen and hydration, much needed this weekend.
You
Thanks,
bet.
Ethan.
You bet.
And speaking of Country Thunder, before we leave you, the main stage performances, as Ethan said, begin tonight. They run all weekend long, wrapping up with Blake Shelton on Sunday. And opening for Shelton Sunday afternoon is Vancouver-based Juno Award-winning band, the Washboard Union. And they are truly excited to be back on stage after a few years off.
There's this real vibrant energy out there when the artist hits the stage for both the audience and for the artist. I made this point the other day, actually, like the very first when we were back felt like me being on stage for the first time. It's been so long, except you're not playing to the bartender and his buddy. You're playing to many people who actually know the words to your songs. So, but the feeling is still the same. So it's this weird sort of dichotomy.
We had to actually calm ourselves down, and we have a little joke that we have to be careful that we don't leaf blower everybody when we get on the stage. So
just blow their faces out?
Yeah, gotta pace ourselves.
We tailor what songs go into our sets for sometimes the areas that we're in, or parts of the country. Another piece that's been pretty strange here is that we released an album during the pandemic. Right. So we had a whole bunch of songs that we had never played live, but also none of our audience had heard live. Yet by the time we got back to it, it was a year and a half-ish later. So,
and they knew all the words.
That's the weird thing is, so we're playing this song for the first time in front of an audience, but they already know the words. So it's a really fun thing.
The journey you make, it's about taking chances and learning to fly.
Saskatchewan has always been such an important place for us. It was kind of one of the first provinces where the crowds got really big for us very early on in our career, and Saskatchewan's just been so good to us as a band. We've won a CCMA in Saskatchewan, and it's just always been a place we were excited. Whenever it comes up on our calendar, we're always excited that we get to go back.
I wanna feel that country thunder.
I think Country Thunder is gonna be a lot of fun. We have a song called Country Thunder that just went gold, so that's kind of nice. But it's going to be a blast, and playing with some guys we really respect. It's going to be an incredible environment. People are so ready for live music to be back in their lives, and we're just so excited that we can be part of that.
I wanna look at this whole world with wonder. I wanna feel that country thunder.
And that is it for us this week. For news anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Glenn Reed will be back with more local news at 11. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Stay cool and stay safe.